Hi, and welcome back to Sizzling Hot with SM. My name is Sarah Michelle, and we are not on the butcher block this week. We are actually in my game room. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know why. My kitchen is currently being remodeled. So if you hear any hammers or any drill bits or anything kind of crazy, it's because they're working down there right now. I'm super excited about this week because we just did a few things differently. We're not going to be cooking because obviously I don't have a series of unfortunate events happen, and here we are. We will not miss a show under any circumstances. So it's different, but it's going to be really exciting. This week we have a brand new guest. We have Gabriel Morales. Gabriel, thank you for joining the show this week.
Thank you for the invitation.
Of course. Do you want to tell the viewers just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, as you can see, I'm a huge New York Mets fan. This is God's team, so I'm a big fan, big follower. Born and raised here in Jersey, pretty much all New York sports person. But yeah, baseball is my main thing.
Okay. So we were supposed to make mac and cheese on screen today together, but again, because we just don't have the capacity to cook in the kitchen, we already made our mac and cheese. So Gabriel, if you'd like to show the viewers your mac and cheese.
Yes.
And so I saw this video this week, Gabriel, of like this woman like pouring half a gallon of milk with a Velveeta block and calling it mac and cheese. I'm like, no. So I was like, we're gonna make mac and cheese. This is actually my personal recipe of mac and cheese. Usually we bake it for the holidays, but because we just want a little bit Southern comfort, we made it, and we're just gonna eat it. So, are you ready, Gabriel?
I'm pretty ready.
Okay, let's get sizzling then. Now, we are going to toast together. This is the first bite, so toast with me. Yours looks pretty good, actually. Yours looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty solid. Not bad.
What do you mean not bad?
For me, I'm saying. It's not bad for me.
How would you rate it?
My cooking skills aren't, up to par, so that's why I'm saying it's not bad.
Honestly, I thought you were going to use Kraft. Max and I were talking about it, and we're like, oh, he probably ended up using Kraft mac and cheese, but I'm glad you stuck with it.
Wow. Come on, Max.
No disrespect towards you, but I didn't see it, so sometimes when you don't see things happening, you don't know. Okay, so we're going to start with the NBA. The Nuggets have encountered a little bit of a hitch. Jamal Murray is out. So I don't know how their playoff chances are looking, but do you think that they can still be a deep playoff team that we thought they were going to be?
No, I don't think they'll be a deep playoff team. Jamal Murray's essentially like the playmaker on the team. He is the catalyst that causes the rest of the team to essentially push, especially late in the game. It was a good acquisition in getting Aaron Gordon, and that pretty much set them up to make a deep run again, as we saw, last year and pretty much the season before that, where they were very, competitive. It's a young core, which I like especially, but without Jamal Murray, it's really hard for me to see them make a deep run just as they did last season. He's just a one-of-a-kind player. The guy, he does things on the court that is pretty remarkable. So for him going down, that's a big blow for the team. I don't see how anybody can bet on them going deep into the playoff run. In my personal opinion, they're probably going to be first round
eliminated.
That's it. They get out then. So yeah, that's my prediction.
That's your prediction. So you don't think that there's anything the Nuggets can do like this late in the season to like recover or rebound?
It's hard because you're gonna have to ask a lot more from the other guys on the team that are more role players. Aaron Gordon was coming onto the team essentially not being the, first or second guy. Now he's going to be one of the go-to guys to kind of help lift the offense down this last stretch of the season and then into the playoffs as well. And so I don't know if he's capable of carrying or helping carrying the team. It's really hard to say, but my personal opinion is Jamal Murray runs that offense. That's his team, and him going down is a big blow for them.
Okay. Well, Denver Nuggets, I wish you the very best of luck. Maybe you can prove Gabriel wrong, because that's his sizzling hot take and not mine. It's not my sizzling hot take.
Listen,
okay.
I hope they prove me wrong. That's a fun team to watch. And
it is. They're so young.
It's a really young core of guys. And seeing them last season in the playoffs with what they did and what they were able to achieve, it was cool to see. So if they can do it, hey, props to them.
Okay. So let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about some teams that I personally think may have a chance in the playoffs. So first I want to bring up the Mavericks' recent success and how Luka Doncic is just dominating the court. What are your thoughts on that?
Luka's a special guy. I think he's one of these other players that provide that spark that teams need. When he's off the floor, you kind of see the offense not running up to the optimum level. I'm not sure if they're a deep playoff team either, just because they don't have the veteran presence that other teams have, and that's important for deep playoff runs. I think that's like, if you're talking about the Denver Nuggets, that's probably what their Achilles heel was last season. They don't have a veteran to kind of orient the guys. Personally, I think it was a huge mistake for them to let JJ Barea walk. I think that guy, he brings a veteran presence to the team. He's been to the playoffs a number of times, won a championship with Dallas. That voice on the bench and in the locker room is important. They don't have that on their team. Luka is amazing. He is just a phenomenal player. And we're seeing, just the other day that game-winning shot against, was it Boston? Where he hit from three, right at the end of the game. So he's showing that this guy is a force to be reckoned with. I'm not sure how that plays well in the postseason. Having that guy, just one person really to depend on for a playoff run, a series where you're going to face multiple teams. I can't see them going deep into the playoffs either.
Okay. All right. Thank you. What about Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat repeating the same success that they saw in the bubble?
We'll see. Listen, I think Miami, again, is one of those teams that they have a young core, but what's different about Miami is that they have a lot of veteran presence. And
Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, sure, they're not winning like in a crazy amount of games during the regular season, right? They're not up at the top in the Eastern Conference, the standings. They're, I think 7 or 8 right now. Mm-hmm. But that team is built for the playoffs because they have a lot of veteran presence and because they are scrappers. Like, they play tough defense, and they're not going to quit. And with Jimmy at the helm, essentially being that guy who's been there, done that, that's a hungry team. And I think that they can go deep again in the playoffs. These teams in the East, they're killing each other. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, Boston, Milwaukee, even New York. They're using a lot of time with their starters. Their major stars are just getting gassed out, and mm-hmm. I think Miami could surprise a lot of people in the playoffs.
Okay. So all that being said, I do have one final question for you, and then we'll close out the NBA. Who do you pick for MVP, like overall? Who do you think is going to win that title?
That's a good question. So if you would have asked me that maybe a couple weeks ago, I probably would have said James Harden, even Joel Embiid, as kind of a guy that has been putting up insane numbers. But down the last couple of weeks, and just looking forward at the schedules for the next couple of weeks as well, I think Steph Curry is going to be this season's MVP. He is putting up insane numbers, like ridiculous numbers. I know last night they lost, they couldn't get the win out against Boston, but it was partly because of, they have a young team. They don't have Klay Thompson. Wiseman was hurt. Yeah, I mean, it's a shame that they don't have the stellar offense that they had before, but Steph is carrying this team, and they're right there on the edge of making the playoffs. Yeah. If they can manage to get the playoffs, and if Steph continues to put up the numbers that he's putting up now, I think he's averaging 30 points a game. I think that's this season's MVP. The only other person that's averaging more points is Bradley Beal, but they're nowhere near making.
They're not reading.
Yeah.
No. I don't believe in the Wizards like that. I don't believe in the Wizards like that. Yeah. I think at some point I had hope for them, and then it was just like, yeah, maybe not. Maybe not.
Is that a fair take? Did you have another person in mind for MVP?
Currently, I don't know. I think it's just very competitive. If I had to choose anybody, for me, it would be Giannis. I think this is his year. And I think he's doing really great. He's putting up great numbers. He's a lot more seasoned than he was in other seasons. I know that people were always like, Giannis can't shoot a three for his life, to save his life. But I mean, he's still a great playmaker, and I think he's gonna give people a run for their money in the Eastern Conference. So for me, it's Giannis. Okay, I let Gabriel eat a little bit so that his macaroni and cheese doesn't get cold. Gabriel, how is your mac and cheese?
Solid.
You told me that you put some breadcrumbs in there. Why are you trying to be more fancy than me?
It's a little razzle dazzle,
I mean, I respect it. I've been known to be extra, but I was short on time today. Okay. The mac and cheese down. Let's get into boxing. So, I actually have never really gotten into boxing. Boxing is actually something that Gabriel was like, hey, if you have me on the show, like, I really want to cover boxing. I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I did some research. I asked him a lot of questions. I listened to some podcasts that he has never heard before. And so I feel like an expert now. But let's talk about, this fight that real boxing fans are really looking forward to. And it is the Anthony Joshua Tyson Fury fight for the heavyweight class. Their managers already, agreed to a 2-fight deal, the details of which I do not really recall, but it's a lot of money. And they're currently looking for a site. I know that Saudi Arabia is like, hey, bring that fight over here. We'll pay you tons of money if you have that fight here. But that's something that they're gonna have to figure out on their own. But I have a few questions relating to this specific fight, starting with, why is this fight so important for boxing in general?
So I'll answer that in 2 parts.
Okay.
For the past, I want to say 20 years, boxing has been on the decline. Primarily so because the rise of UFC, MMA, it's pretty much taken the US by storm. There's a lot more fans that are just attracted to MMA and UFC and all the glamour and the show that kind of surrounds it. But also, there hasn't been a lot of talent, specifically in the heavyweight division. Historically, boxing has been known, for great fighters in the lighter weights, lightweight, welterweight, middleweight. But all throughout it's been like consistently, the big man fights that attract a large following. So from, you could say, the 50s, 60s, all the way up until the 90s, heavyweight boxing specifically has been like the number one. You followed names like Muhammad Ali, George Foreman, Joe Louis, and then, into the 80s, the rise of Mike Tyson, 90s, Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis. But then in the 2000s, you kind of get like this dry spell where boxing wasn't fun anymore. It's not the same. The big names aren't there anymore. But recently, a couple fighters in the heavyweight division kind of started making a name for themselves, and not just because they needed people to be heavyweight champs, but because these guys are the real deal. And so this fight is huge because, thinking of all the history, and then also they're both the champions. They have all the belts, and so there needs to be an undisputed champ. That's how essentially boxing will work in each division. The person who has all the belts will try to unify the championship. This is that fight.
Okay.
It's pretty interesting because both guys are from England, and it's also gonna garner a lot of more fans in Europe, which is great because boxing has been more of an American sport. So it's a huge fight, and there's a lot at play here.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So you kind of touched already on my next question. So I wanted to know, like, what does this actually mean? Like, if you could maybe elaborate a little bit more, what does this actually mean for the future of the weight class?
So for the future of the weight class, it means that there's going to be a king on top of the hill. And if you want to essentially make a name for yourself, you gotta get yourself up that hill and be prepared to fight. So boxing, just as in any sport, it gets more interesting and more competitive when there's somebody to chase, when there's somebody to, say, all right, that's the standard, I'm gonna get there one day. Once there's a king, everybody wants to sit on the throne. So it's gonna be cool to see someone who's an undisputed champ in the heavyweight division, which we haven't had for a while. And these two guys, particularly them, they have a lot of personality to them, especially Tyson Fury. We saw that in the fights with Deontay Wilder, right? He has just this unbelievable persona, reminiscent of, the fighters of old, kind of like Muhammad Ali, trash talkers. So it's promising for the future of the division.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And now I just want to look more broadly at the sport, like just bird's eye view of what the future looks like. Do you see, or maybe think that there may be some rising stars that may be the next face of boxing? So personally, when I think of boxing, I know he's retired, but I think of Floyd Mayweather, because he's phenomenal. Like, when I think of boxing, it's Floyd Mayweather. I'm sure when my parents think of boxing, they think of Mike Tyson. So who do you think might be the face of boxing in the future as a sport as a whole, across all weight classes?
Yeah. No, that's a good question. I would say right now there is a face for boxing, and that's Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez is just an absolute phenomenal athlete. The guy has gone from weight class to weight class, increasing in weight, and he's been beating everybody. And so the only fight that he actually lost on record is against Floyd Mayweather. He was the only guy that really could beat him. But Canelo currently is the face of boxing. I think he's going to stay the face of boxing for a number of years.
He's rather young.
Yeah, he's rather young. That's precisely why. I don't think he's indicated at all that he'll be retiring soon. But to give you an answer, I think there are some guys that will probably, if they stay healthy and if they keep winning, they can have a shot at being the future of boxing, the face, right? When you think of like the face of boxing, it's not just like the persona, but you also want to be the pound for pound best fighter in boxing, which right now it's Canelo Alvarez. But I think names like Ryan Garcia, who's a lightweight fighter, who we saw a couple months ago fight and win in Florida, which was a huge fight for him. Gervonta Davis, and probably the name I think will be around for a while is Teofimo Lopez, who just won last year against the champ, which is Vasyl Lomachenko. So I think those guys have an opportunity in front of them because they're all young. That's the thing. They're all young. They're all great fighters, and all of them have a hunger to be number one, So those guys I think we're going to be hearing more of for a while. And they have all the talent in the world. We'll just see, they got to keep winning.
We'll have to see. I'll have to start keeping up with boxing now so I can see if you're right or not. Okay.
Listen, there's a lot of boxers out there to follow. So the guys that I just named are the ones that are worth following.
Okay. All right. That's a sizzling hot take. Okay, guys, we are going to finish our mac and cheese. I already finished my mac and cheese because I was hungry. And I'm going to let Gabriel finish his mac and cheese, and we'll be right back. All right, so Gabriel just finished his mac and cheese. How are you feeling, Gabriel?
Pretty good.
Pretty good. And just to let everybody watching this know, the recipe is going to be in the link down below and all the little tips and tricks that I did. I think Gabriel followed everything that I told him to do, but I'm unsure because his mac and cheese didn't look like mine. So I don't know. And again, if you want to see a video of me making this mac and cheese, follow me on TikTok. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter. And Gabriel, would you like to tell the folks where to follow you on social media?
They could probably find me on your page somewhere.
Okay. I'll tag you. I'll tag you. I'll tag you. Perfect. Okay. Let's finish out the show with Major League Baseball. And I want to start talking about, the season just started, which I'm very happy about. But the season has 162 games. So we're coming into the first leg of our journey. But as of right now, what two teams do you think have had the best overall starts?
Two teams? Best overall starts?
Only two teams. We have time for teams.
All right. Obviously, Los Angeles Dodgers.
Okay.
They are coming off of a World Series championship, and they just acquired one of the best pitchers in baseball, and Trevor Bauer. And they're continuing that success. They've started off on an absolute tear. We saw last night against the Padres, which is their
their rival
right now, probably their biggest threat in the National League. And they won the game with absolute,
poise and composure.
Stardom. Yeah, with Mookie Betts making that just insane diving catch in right field to end the game. So it was pretty to watch. But yeah, I think in the National League, it's probably the Los Angeles Dodgers. Okay. But the second team, I would say, surprisingly, is the Boston Red Sox.
Hold on, let me just have a moment to myself, okay? Let me just.
I know.
As a Yankees fan, I need a moment. I think I just need a moment.
You need a moment, as well as probably the entire league, because I don't think anyone expected for Boston to have this good of a start.
No.
Considering, their financial status, right? They kind of signaled to the entire league that they were in shambles when they didn't sign Mookie Betts to a long-term deal. So that was pretty startling. Then, losing Alex Cora as their manager for an entire season, but him coming back, I want to say, has made all the difference because they are looking in form. They made some pickups, in the off season to try to stop the bleeding in certain parts. One of those pickups was Kike Hernandez, which, you know, he's coming off of the win in Los Angeles as well. He was a championship player there. He wasn't a starter though. And
no, he wasn't.
Surprisingly, he's starting with Boston and he's doing fantastic. So I think Boston is up there as well. We're going to see how they'll do throughout the season. They don't really have too deep of a rotation. I think that's their Achilles heel as a team. But so far, I think that team is the team in the American League that has started off phenomenally.
Okay, thank you for that. Now we're looking at your Mets jersey. Let's talk about the Mets. Let's go Mets, or something like that. Yankees fans, I'm really sorry, but let's go Mets right now.
Yes.
All right, so all eyes... Huh?
As Pete Alonso would put it, LGFM. Yeah.
All eyes are on the Mets this season. They just got a billionaire owner, Steve Cohen, coming in here with the big daddy bucks. And so we all want to see what the Mets are going to do. We've, see that they signed Francisco Lindor. Like, that was a great choice for them because I think he would go into free agency in October, and the last thing they wanted to do was have that happen. So irregular starts aside, do you think this is the World Series team that fans have been waiting for?
That's a tough question. As a fan, you say, I hope so, right? You can only hope that it's going to be the team. I think getting Steve Cohen as the owner, first and foremost, makes a world of a difference because for the last decade or so, fans have been super frustrated every offseason knowing that there's big free agents that they're unable to chase because the ownership didn't have the money or didn't want to spend the money, whatever the case it was with the Wilpon family. Don't want to talk about them too much. But
no negativity on the show.
Yeah, Steve Cohen coming in with, number one, the money to spend. And number two, I think what makes the biggest difference is he's a fan. He's a born and raised New York Met fan. So he wants the team to do well. He's not just looking at it from a financial perspective, to make money as an owner. He wants the team to win. So that's important. And I think you saw that this offseason with some of the acquisitions that they made, getting, a catcher and James McCann, going after some of the top relievers that were available as well. Mm-hmm. And then pulling off the trade that probably broke the internet for a little bit in getting Francisco Lindor to come to New York, and then signing him to $341 or $42 million. So that was a big deal. And as New York Met fans, you're hopeful for this season, right? We have a pretty good team so far on paper. There are a few injuries that we're dealing with. We don't have Noah Syndergaard. We don't have Seth Lugo, who's our main relief pitcher in the bullpen. So that's kind of hurting the team a little bit, but they're sitting pretty at first place in the National League East, which is a pretty competitive division.
It's a pretty competitive, yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to give a prediction about what's going to happen at the end of the season. It's so early. We have so much baseball to play. But I'll say we have all the parts, at least most of the parts for a championship team. We have really good bones. So as a Met fan, you're hopeful and you're happy as well.
Cautiously optimistic.
Yes.
Okay.
You're optimistic. I think every season you're cautiously optimistic in the past, but now, it really looks and it feels different.
Okay. I respect that. Let's go Mets. Yankees, better step it up, okay? Or you're going to lose your spot and it's New York's team. Okay. Let's keep going. So what team do you think other teams need to be on the lookout that could potentially be a dark horse this season?
Dark horse, I'd probably say Chicago White Sox. I know they're ranked up there. They're not having the best of starts, but I really like that team. Chicago White Sox has a good franchise right now. They have a young core that they can go deep into the season, making a push there in the American League Central. Right now, I would say the other team is Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, I don't know what they have, like what they're drinking, what they're giving the players out there, but they seem
it's the Florida water.
I don't know
Florida
what it is,
water.
They seem to have like the ingredients to how to beat the Yankees. Like I don't get it. I don't know what it is, but Tampa Bay, you would think in losing, Blake Snell, right? In the offseason, that this team isn't going to have the same success as they did last year. And it's a small market team as well. They don't have the money to retain these players because once they reach a certain level, they want to get, big bucks. But Tampa Bay has a really good recipe out there, and they're performing well right now. So I think that might be a dark horse in the American League East. Watch out. Tampa Bay might do another repeat.
Yeah, Tampa Bay just swept the Yankees this weekend, and so I'm like licking my wounds, but I definitely respect that team a lot. When it came down to it last year, I was cheering on the Tampa Bay Rays because I was cheering on the Tampa Bay Rays. And so I wish them the best of luck, but let's go Yankees.
Yeah. I would also add, I'll just say one more team that has probably,
surprised everyone.
Surprised everyone. I don't think they were included in any, like top 10
Royals
predictions. Kansas City's good, but Houston has Houston has a chip on their shoulder. They want to prove to everybody that they are the championship team that they were. Was it in 2017 that they know how to win, and starting off the season the way they have, it's a big statement. And if they can continue to do that, I think that's going to be a team that everybody has to watch out for.
Okay. If you say so, that's your sizzling hot take. All right, let's talk about something that I really, 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 really like. Let's talk about experimental rules. So Major League Baseball is working with its farm system and its affiliate leagues, and they're just testing out some experimental rules that they might want to implement into Major League Baseball in the future. So I would like your thoughts as to whether there is a specific rule that you think might make baseball more fun for fans and players alike. And the players, they matter too, but mostly the fans.
I think some of the experimental rules that we've seen, like for instance, last season get implemented this season as well. It's making the game quicker and a little bit more fun, at least if you're thinking about, offensive perspective. I like the fact that they start extra inning games with the player on second base. I like that. And I know it's burned a few teams, they go in playing so well, and then extra innings comes, and literally the first inning they're out. But I like that. I think that's been successful, and hopefully with some of these rules, MLB will experience similar success to, making the game better and more palatable for, new fans. Which that's what they're looking for, getting new fans to give energy to it. I like the rule to make the base wider. I like that.
That one's my favorite too. Yeah.
I think it just makes sense from a safety perspective. You want the players to have a good time on the field, but also stay safe. The bases have to be wide enough for the fielder to be able to make the play at the base, and also the base runner to slide in and get there safely without there being a collision. So that makes sense. I like that rule. I forget some of the other experimental rules besides that one.
Okay.
I know there was like the limit for the pitchers.
Okay. The time limit, like a pitch clock.
Yeah, the time limit. Yeah,
I didn't like that one. Because this isn't basketball.
It's not basketball.
This isn't basketball or football.
I agree with that. I don't like that rule at all. Especially considering, you go into the playoffs. You're in you're the away team, so you're in the home field of the team you're facing. They're making a lot of noise, right?
Yeah.
They're screaming, they're yelling at you. As a pitcher, you might need to, step off the mound for like 5 seconds before you throw the next pitch because you might be in a jam, you might be in a tough spot. So rushing through it, I think personally that's not a good idea. It doesn't make the game more fun.
What about the double hook rule? I think they're trying that out in AAA teams. I don't know if it's all AAA or low AAA. I'm not entirely sure. I don't remember. But what about the double hook rule? What do you think of that one?
For the sake of the audience who doesn't really know what the double hook rule is, essentially it's a rule that is gonna make it harder for teams to make substitutions, right, for their pitchers. The team will start with a DH, but if they if they take out their starting pitcher and they bring in another pitcher, that player has to bat. That pitcher has to bat. So that's the rule going forward. I don't like the rule at all. I understand that they want to create kind of like a sense of parity between American League and National League. Yeah, I get it. Make it even and fair. The best way to go about that is through the universal DH. We saw how great it functioned last season. It was in a regular season, I get it. 2020, was weird. But all the players want it. Like, literally, they've been asking for this for years now, to make a universal DH. The fans want it as well. So MLB should really take that route. The double hook rule, it is essentially gonna affect pitchers, especially teams like Tampa Bay, for instance, that starts some of their games with their bullpen. They won't put their starter out until the second or third inning. So they start a game with a DH, but then they have to take their DH out and now put a pitcher in. So it's kind of weird unless they kind of would modify it specifically for that strategy, then maybe. But I still think that the best route would be universal DH. It's less confusing for fans, and it's safer for pitchers. I don't want, my pitcher, say DeGrom going up in a tight spot in the 6th or 7th inning or early in the game, and he gets hit in the pit with a pitch. He gets hit in his throwing hand, or he pulls a hamstring while he's on the bases. Like, no one wants that. So put a universal DH. Put players in there that are dedicated to hitting. There's a reason why the NFL does not have their kickers going out and lining up for the defensive line. Like, there's a reason for that, because they're specialty players. And so it's the same thing with pitchers, in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you for that. I am of the camp of let pitchers hit, but I see where you're coming from, and I understand that the injuries are something that it could hurt teams a lot more if pitchers are not careful, especially if you have really good pitchers that actually can get on base and can move around the diamond. So it's not great.
Look, DeGrom is batting like 600 right now. So he's certainly capable of getting on base, and I think a lot of these guys are too.
Yeah.
It's just from a safety's perspective, you want your guys to stay healthy and remain healthy throughout the season. You want them to go deeper into games, and to be able to do that, putting them to run bases or bat kind of limits them in a certain perspective. And I think MLB wants the pitchers to go deeper into games as well, as to make the game more fun. And one way you do that is increase offensive production by putting universal DH.
A DH. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Now, my last question. This is just a little bit of fun. So we had a really exciting week in pitching this past week. We saw some really amazing stuff. I know, like, Pitchers Nation was like going off. I love Pitchers Nation. That's like one of my favorite Instagram accounts for baseball in general, because I love watching pitches. I think they're so, I don't know, they like stimulate my brain wrinkles. It's nice. I love watching pitches. I don't really understand the differences. I'm getting there. But sometimes, there goes the drill. We're gonna have a beautiful kitchen, guys. I'm telling you, it's gonna be a gorgeous kitchen. So what was your favorite pitching moment this week?
So at the beginning, right, we had great pitching matchups. Like, yesterday we had Kershaw versus Darvish, and, fantastic. Both are fantastic pitchers. Probably the peak, at least at the beginning, was Carlos Rodón. It is just an amazing feeling. I don't care if you're a Chicago Cubs fan or, you hate the Chicago White Sox. It is a pleasure, and it's something so special to see a pitcher go out there and throw a no-hitter. And he was just lights out all night. He was one pitch away from throwing a perfect game, a slider that got away from him and hit a batter. But after that, he was still lights out. Like, he returned to form. So I thought that was great. I didn't get to watch the whole game, though.
No, I didn't either. I caught the highlights.
I was on SportsCenter, I think, and they said breaking news, no hitter in progress, and so I switched over. I saw the last inning, but I think probably for me, my perspective, and I'm a little biased here, the top pitching performance this week was yesterday, and that was done by Jacob deGrom. Listen, here's why. That's my opinion.
Okay, I'm letting you share your sizzling hot take. Let's go.
Coors Field, the Mets were playing the Colorado Rockies, and Coors Field historically is known as a hitter's ballpark. It doesn't take much for someone to hit one out in Colorado. Like, it really doesn't. That's why you see so much offensive production when they're playing in Colorado.
And that's why the home run derby is going to be great this year.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as it catches, that wind up there, those balls are gone. Jacob deGrom in Colorado. It was kind of cold weather as well. This dude was striking out, everybody on the team. He struck out 14 batters in 6 innings of production. That's insane. He struck out 9 batters in a row. The first 12 batters he faced, 10 of them were strikeouts. So that's insane to think that this guy's able to go up there and throw a 101 mile per hour fastball, strike you out with that, and then the next batter he throws a 90 mile per hour slider and strikes him out with that. So I don't know how these batters do it against him. It's just scary to get into the batter's box and look at Jacob deGrom pitch because he's amazing. So for me, that was the best pitching performance that we saw. That's a record that he tied, 9 strikeouts in a row. He was 1 away from tying the first place record, which was held by another Met pitcher, Tom Seaver. So it was a pretty good week for pitching if you're a baseball fan.
Okay. Yeah,
and tonight we're getting a treat as well.
We have Bauer and what's his face? Snell.
Snell, Blake Snell, yes.
I completely
Trevor Bauer and Blake Snell. So this week has been great for pitching.
And I hope that as a baseball fan, we keep seeing just more excellent games, because that's going to make the postseason a lot more fun to watch, for sure.
Yeah.
So we're out of time. Gabriel, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. Thank you so much for adjusting to this different style of Sizzling Hot and for your really hot takes.
No, thank you. The pleasure is mine.
Of course. And to everybody that made it this far, make sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel. I put out new videos every first and third Wednesday of the month. And my name is Sarah Michelle. This is Sizzling Hot with SM, and I will see you next time. Bye.